Okay. Let's see if this works. Let's see. Let me change the thumbnail. If you guys are in here, what's up? I can't see anything yet, so I'm so sorry. You're gonna have to give me a second. There we go. Let's do that. Let's do that. Good enough. Hit save. Boom. Now we have a thumbnail. Heck yeah. Get rid of that. All right. We're trying out Ecamm today, guys. So I apologize if things are not working, are working. I'm literally doing a trial with Ecamm. So how's it sound? I can't monitor. I'm wearing these for no reason. I can't monitor my audio for some reason. So please, Logan, what's up, brother? Let me know if it's sounding good at all in this thing. And yeah, we're gonna be doing some things. I have a conversation topic for this live stream. I'm kind of just winging this a little bit. I do have some notes this time though. Got some notes this time. And then also, while we're kind of going through some things, I'm actually gonna color grade because I have to do some work. I don't even know how to see how this is all going. Sounds great. Good, because I guessed. Oh man, that is perfect. All right, let me see if this works. So I'm gonna click on this little button. And sweet, now you guys can see my DaVinci Resolve timeline. I wonder if I can make my Ecamm comments over my DaVinci Resolve stuff. I don't know if that would work or not. That'd be really cool if that's the case, because then I can actually see what you guys are saying. Or do I could just pull you guys up on my phone for YouTube, which is probably the better way to do this. There we go. Hey, we got 9 people in here. What's up? If you're here, drop a like. I would appreciate it. Maybe we can get this out to a handful more people for the sake of the conversation. I'm using kind of a aggressive title, you could say, for this. I don't think everyone hates LUMIX, but there is a lot of hate around that camera, so I do want to address that. I've been getting a lot of interesting comments on my channel about that, so while I'm color grading this, I just thought it would be interesting to have a conversation with you guys about that. And then also probably gonna get a little bit into the conversation of AI in the creative space, because I do think that that is something we should probably be talking about. And then also, I kind of wanted to just get into a little bit of film photography and stuff like that. So this is also gonna be an Ask Me Anything, so feel free to just interrupt any of the conversation and all that stuff. So that's the live stream. I'm new at this, but that's the live stream setup. We'll start this off with just a little question for you guys while we're kind of waiting for Pool to either trickle in or trickle out. What's the camera setup that you all are using right now most often? So this could be professionally or just for yourself or things like that. So I'm curious to hear kind of what you guys are using, and that'll actually help me with the conversation of this whole LUMIX debacle and stuff like that. So, and you guys get to see my mug twice, once in the little lower third and then once here on the screen, which is pretty fun. Let me see if I can add you, Logan, your question. If I click this, does it appear on the screen? No. Ah, there we go. Okay, sweet. So Logan is asking, I've only heard some recent hiccups with the S1R2. Any truth to that? I definitely like the image out of it more than the S1 II, so hoping it's fine. Yeah, there's totally truth to that if you're talking about the S1R2. Unfortunately, I agree. I love the image in my S1R2 way more than my S1 II, although it still looks amazing. But I've had it overheat on me. I just have. So if you're filming, unfortunately, with a CF Express B card, which generates a lot of heat, and then you're filming in some of their higher end frame rates and resolutions and things like that, the S1R2 does have some unfortunate overheating issues, which does get a little bit frustrating, unfortunately. So I think the camera has a stellar image, but until LUMIX updates it, now that I've had it for a lot longer, I'm not really recommending anyone buy that camera specifically anymore, because it's just not quite reliable enough for everyone. If you still want to put up with it, that's fine. I do. But it's hard for me to like just actually recommend a camera that messes up all the time, if that makes any sense for you, Logan. Logan, you're on the S52X. I freaking love that camera. Where's my S5? It's over there. I actually just recently made a video highlighting the S52X. It's such a great camera, even though it's a little bit older. It really is a stellar camera. I love everything about it. If you don't need raw video internal, almost can't beat it. I really like it a lot. Let's see what else is going on. I don't know if I'm going to be able to color grade. This is kind of fun. I'm not the best at this, but let's see how this goes. Okay, let's see how this goes. Markman wants to say, more like, why do people hate on the Nikon Z6 Mark III? You know what it is that camera is great if you can deal with applying noise reduction in post. So if you have a robust noise reduction setup, because the Nikon Z6 Mark III isn't really doing any noise cancellation or noise cleanup in camera, unfortunately, in my opinion, it kind of it doesn't degrade the image, but it makes it a harder image to work with. So a lot of people don't love the Z6 III because of that. Also, the stabilization isn't the best, in my opinion. But if you like Nikon and you want to put up with those things, and you are able to do some pretty great noise processing in post, it's a pretty fabulous camera. I do like it. I got a beard hair in my mouth. You're welcome. Let's see. I'm not gonna be able to get to any of my stuff here. That's fine, actually. I kind of want to talk to you guys anyways about this stuff, mainly because I uploaded a video and it got quite a bit of backlash, a little bit of drama. So, and I kind of got a little heated in the comments. I apologize. But yeah, we're gonna have to go over that. Markman also says, I think that the S12 is amazing. Completely agree. S12, if you want a no nonsense, give you all the video features for a really good price camera, and I mean all the video features, S12 is pretty unmatched. Let's see. Logan is also asking or saying, the extent of my overheating worries is talking head interviews, controlled environments, hour-ish. If it's indoors, you'd probably get away. I'm gonna switch to this cam for now. You'd probably get away with it. Rent the camera. There's probably a rental house that that you could get it from, and see if, as long as you're not recording RAW, you don't even need to record to the CF Express B card. So rent it, throw an SD card, try it in whatever you're trying to film in, do it in ARRILOG. I think the ARRILOG does look better than the Vlog. The more I've used it, the more I actually like the ARRILOG C3 even more. At first I was kind of like, pretty close, but I started to like it a little bit more. But yeah, I would say rent it and see, Logan, if that works for you. Because even still, I film talking head YouTube content. We're on the S12 right now, and I had it overheat on me filming outside. It's like 95 degrees in direct sunlight, filming 4K 60. So obviously that's probably gonna overheat, but, or maybe it was, yeah, no, it was like 5.1K maybe, I don't know. And it overheated. But when I film my YouTube content, it's mostly just kind of like, hey, I'm gonna talk to you, to the camera for 3 minutes, and I'm gonna stop, set up a new shot. So unfortunately, I don't have a great answer for you on that one specifically, Logan. How do I pronounce your name, brother? I'm so sorry. Is that 2 I's or 2 L's? Is it Ipo? I'm so sorry. I'm taking pictures with the Canon 6D, the Mark 1 or the Mark 2. My friend had the Mark 1 and he loved that thing. And smartphones. Don't really shoot video. I'm extremely interested in all new cameras. That's awesome. Yeah, the camera space is really cool right now. If you mostly do photos, honestly, the 6D, even the Mark 1 is stellar. I was actually going to talk about this in my last video, but I ended up taking it out because my video was already getting a little too long, in my opinion. Although, I don't know, people seem to like the longer style video, so maybe I should have left it in. But photography, in my opinion, hasn't really advanced much in the last decade. I mean, it has. We've gotten better autofocus, better frames per second, stuff like that. Stabilization, better stabilization for low light handheld stuff. But a raw photo is a raw photo, and it looks good. Like, you can go and shoot on a 5D Mark II and still get incredible results. So that's kind of why I left out photography. But dude, yeah, what's the and again, I'm sorry for pronouncing your name wrong, but Ipo, what's your like camera that you're looking at right now? If you were to upgrade to something else, would you want to stay in the Canon system? I know a lot of people who love Canon for photography. I actually really enjoyed my R5 Mark I for photography specifically. So interested to see what camera system you would want to either go into or stay in Canon, and what camera you would want to look into. Martin, what's up, brother? I use the A7 IV for video and the GFX 50S2, hell yeah, for photos. Dude, jealous of that. I need to get into medium format. I haven't dabbled in it really, other than just kind of renting a camera and trying it out, but I was looking at getting a older Hasselblad X1D, because you can find those, I mean, they're still expensive, but you can find those a lot cheaper than you can get, obviously, the X2Ds, which are stellar cameras. And I really like Hasselblad a lot for some reason for medium format, although the Fujifilms are fabulous as well. But yeah, I need to dabble in that more. A7 IV, I never actually ended up using that camera. I've been around it. I know a lot of people who love it. What's your favorite thing about the A7 IV? I'd be curious to know what drew you to that for video specifically. Brad says, howdy. Howdy, how you doing? I love a good howdy. Martin's also saying, I think people were a little surprised with your latest video because 3 out of the 4 cameras were Lumix cameras. These are great cameras and clearly more powerful than most in that range. Yeah, so I think that's probably where I made a mistake. I say mistake because the video is essentially my opinions. So I am biased towards what I like. So in the video, I'm recommending the cameras that I enjoy using and that I use regularly. And, you know, the ones that I think are actually affordable in today's market. But I think I probably should have, and that's actually something I wanted to specifically point out in this. This is actually a perfect segue. Thank you, Martin. I wanted to talk about the Nikon Z5 Mark II. I got a lot of comments. I got a few comments about why didn't I include the Nikon Z5 Mark II? And to just be completely upfront, the reason why I didn't include it is just simply I haven't used it. So it's hard for me to recommend directly in a video like that, like, hey, you should put your money into this if I haven't used it. But I do think that probably is a little nearsighted. I mean, I can look at the spec sheet as well and tell you guys what I think about it, just from my perspective. So maybe I should have brought up that camera, because I will say, if you do look at the spec sheet, it's pretty dang impressive. I have a note somewhere, because I was doing some research on it earlier today. This is what's actually sparked this whole thing, was that I needed to go into why I didn't talk about this camera. Let's see. Also, how you guys doing? What are you all doing on a Sunday? Middle of the day. I didn't think anyone would join in, so I appreciate anyone who's tuned in on a random Sunday. Just something I wanted to talk about. So here we go. So why I ignored it, I talked about that just because I haven't used it. But then what is the things that kind of like made me go, I messed up a little bit on that one. I probably should have mentioned it. The processor in it is, I believe, the same processor that's in the more expensive Nikon cameras, so that's pretty incredible. It has the same IBIS, a really bright electronic viewfinder. I don't know exactly the nits, so if anyone knows the nit brightness of that EVF, but I've heard it's amazing. And then also what's really cool is, and again, you got to think this camera is $1,700 new, which puts it above the S9 in price, and right at the S5 IIX in price, but below the A7 C2, which we were talking about. But it does record 4K 30 uncropped, and then it'll do 4K 60 cropped in at 1.5 X zoom. But the kicker that everyone is like pretty freaking sick is that it can do NRAW and internal, which is crazy for a camera that affordable. So I definitely think that I probably should have mentioned that camera. And if there's other cameras that you guys think I should mention, just drop it in the chat, and we can have a conversation about that. Because again, these were just in relation to cameras that I've personally used. I've used a ton of cameras doing the work that I do in this range. So I had a lot of thoughts about a lot of different cameras and camera systems. And we can even go into more the Canon rabbit hole if you guys want to jump into that, because I have thoughts on that. But yeah, that's probably what I have to say about the Z5 II. I need to try it. I need to rent it. So, or maybe I can reach out to Nikon and see if they'd let me borrow one or something along those lines. So hopefully that kind of addressed that a little bit, Martin. I appreciate you being here. TV, let's see. You said in your most recent video that Sigma lenses work natively with the S1 II, but a few videos said otherwise unless you're using Panasonic LUMIX specifically. Some features are definitely blocked. What features are blocked? Maybe I'm ignorant on that, but as far as I understand it, because Sigma is in the L-mount alliance, LUMIX Panasonic treats those as, and I heard this directly from LUMIX, so that's my source of information, that Sigma lenses are treated as first-party lenses on LUMIX cameras. So if I'm mistaken, TV, let me know what features I'm missing, but that's from my LUMIX guy who was telling me about that whole L-mount system. So let's see what's going on. Ipo said, I got the 6D Mark I and buffer is a problem with wildlife photography. Been thinking about getting the Canon R6 Mark I, but really love to get a Sony A9 III. Yeah, if I had the money for it. Yeah, the A9 III is crazy cool. R6 Mark I wonder what the difference, I had the R6 Mark II. I'm trying to think of what the difference is, it's been a while, what the differences were between those two. But yeah, wildlife photography, I've never actually dabbled in that. I imagine it's kind of like hunting in a way where you got to just sit there and wait, and their moment to get the photo you want is brief, so every second counts. So yeah, I can imagine wanting to upgrade from the original 6D Mark I, but interesting. Yeah, let people know where they can see your work, brother. Let's see. Navid, is that how you say your name? I'm sorry. Said the Nikon Z5 II is a copy of the S5 II. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Similar specs, similar price. Z5 II released a little bit, I would say significantly cheaper than the S5. Well, no. S5 II, it's a copy of the S5 II. I don't think so. I'm actually taking that back. I thought you were talking about the S5. Well, I see, I don't know. That's an interesting one. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I guess it's close, but obviously Nikon is allowing you to do NRAW internal, which is a pretty big deal for a lot of people. And then on the flip side, on the S5 II and 2X, you're getting open gate and anamorphic support. And you can still do ProRes RAW if you're not editing in DaVinci, which I am. So yeah, so unfortunately I can't use the ProRes RAW stuff, but I don't know if we can do Blackmagic RAW out or not. I can't remember now. I'd say they're different, but they are close. I don't fully disagree with you. Let's see. Mark Mann is asking, what's my favorite lens that I use for LUMIX? Easy. Easy, easy, easy. I'm filming on it right now. It is my LUMIX 35mm 1.8. I really need to make a video about this lens. I just keep having other things that get in the way of that. But I mean, I don't know. You guys can see this, how it looks right now. There's something about the way the bokeh looks on this lens that I just find ultra pleasing, and the autofocus on this lens seems pretty good as well. So I use this lens all the time. I know it's a prime lens, and zoom lenses are way more useful for what I do and what a lot of people do. But if I can make it work, I pretty much use this lens all the time, or my vintage lenses, but right now it's this lens all the time. Markman, are you on the Z8? Is that what you're saying with this comment? That you're filming with the Z8 or taking photos? I love the Z8. Z8 rips. I got to rent it and take it to Cades Cove in Tennessee. If you ever get the chance to go to Cades Cove, freaking sick place. It was a freaking dope camera. If I switched Nikon, which for me, switching Nikon would take them introducing open gate and anamorphics into their cameras, and if they ever did that, I would highly consider Nikon because they're killing it lately. I probably would get a Z8 as a main camera. I freaking rips. Let's see, Martin, welcome back to the chat. He's saying, I mean, the A7 IV is pretty good camera. It fits my needs. This is in relation to me asking him why he uses it for video. I don't care about the rolling shutter or high frame rate video because I'm pretty invested in lenses. So changing systems would not make sense. Yeah, that's the answer a lot of people give when I have this conversation about switching systems. People ask me why I switch systems all the time. And the truth is, I just only own a few lenses. So switching is never really that big of a deal because I don't have a huge lens library. But that is a great reason to stick with a system. I have a friend who is all Canon all the time, and he has a large library of RF lenses and EF lenses and things like that. So for him to switch into any other system, which he's considered Sony a few times, but for him to switch, it would be too much. It'd be too much of a headache. So he just kind of puts up with the few things that Canon goofs on. Every system has a goof though. So let's see. If you guys are joining in now, I appreciate it if you guys dropped a like. We got one negative, one thumbs down. That's cool. I don't know if that's for me or for Lumix. Feels like we're tied together these days. It's probably for me. That's fine. And then also, again, guys, just let me know in the chat what kind of camera systems you all are rocking, or if you're just listening to listen. If the comments are gonna slow down, which are fine, I might actually start. My original idea with this was to color grade while I talk to you guys, but it's kind of goofy to have. Yeah, it's kind of goofy to. I don't know if it's going to slow down my computer. We'll go back to this. It's hard to read the comments and interact with you guys when I'm color grading, but we're going to kind of keep this going as best we can. Edwin K is asking, what's a more obvious difference in the S1 II and the S1 R2? The S1 R2 colors, details. What's more obvious? Or the S1 II dynamic range? I would say if you're saying like, okay, I think I see what you're saying. Is there more of a difference in the dynamic range or the colors between those two cameras? I think is maybe what you're asking. The colors. It really is. I don't know I think I still have up my files so you can download. If you guys go to my other video, I try to provide files when I can to you guys so you can play with the footage yourselves. I think that the footage off the S1R2 is special. It's special. I talk about it in the video. It's using that Ronin 48K sensor, which is a really pretty sensor, which is honestly why it's having all those overheating problems, if you ask me. They put too powerful of a sensor in there, and it's just generating way too much heat, even with a fan. I would say that the color is a bigger difference, but because it overheats, that's why I would say the S1 II, which is what I'm using right now, is a easier recommendation than the R2, unless you're in specific circumstances, because having a camera overheat on you on a job is a problem. Mackie and I used them on a job, but we were in Wyoming and it was cold. So it didn't overheat, didn't even get a warning, but it was cold. So that's kind of not fair if you ask me. Motor Psycho, cool name. Sony ZV-E1 and Canon 5D Mark II. May get rid of both of them for the Lumix S1 II or R2 question marks. Dude, 5D Mark II, ripping. I love that. And the Sony ZV-E1. I never was a huge fan of the Z. Well, I can't say never. When I first got my hands on it, I thought it was pretty cool. But that camera, I tapered my opinion on that camera over time. That camera kind of phased out for me, but you'll have to let me know why you ended up with it. You're thinking about switching over to the S1 II or R2. Again, I kind of just went over all that, but I think the S1 II is an easier camera to recommend just because it's still a great camera. You got the high frame rates in open gate now, 6.4K, ProRes RAW internal, ProRes 422 HQ internal, Blackmagic RAW out. Yeah, it's just a great camera, and the colors do look great. We've been raving about Lumix colors since the H5. So it's the same beautiful colors that you would want with that. And you also get Aerilog now, which is pretty cool. But yeah, the R2 is a little bit special when it comes to how that looks. So let me show. By the way, I am not the best colorist. I do my best. Some of my videos I think look really good, and some of my videos I'm like, what was I doing? What was I thinking? So feel free to critique my color as I'm doing it, and also feel free to drop advice if you have any when it comes to color grading, because I'm always willing to absorb more information about color grading. DaVinci has been a really cool jump into a new world because I came from Premiere, and Premiere was good for some things, but for color, in my opinion, it was never the best. So DaVinci was like, oh, this is way better. So yeah, if you guys have any advice on that, I'd love to hear it. Cliff, let me put you on the screen. I wish I could do this while I was editing. Actually, how do I do this? Here we go. Cliff, cool name. Do you see the S1 II sensor making it to the S1H2? It's pretty killer and the best video out there. I never use the S1H2, so can I comment on that directly? I don't know, but I can say that I think that the S1 II, listen, everyone that I know, not everyone I know, a lot of people that I know in the creative space, and I mean creative as in social media content creation space, are repping these newer Lumix cameras, and most of the reason is OpenGate. Like, let's be honest, it's just because it makes it so much easier to get both our 16:9, 2:1 content, as well as our 9:16 content for Instagram and YouTube Shorts. So like, that's really the reason why we're using it. I don't understand why Sony, Nikon, and Canon don't just steal that, because then the whole camera market would get a lot more competitive instantaneously. But if you're asking me if it competes with that sensor, I know a ton of people love that sensor, so I would hesitate to say one way or another on that specifically, but I bet you someone probably has done a comparison. That feels like someone would do a comparison on that on YouTube, and if not, maybe I should make it. So we'll see how it's going. Elton says, hello Connor, a big fan and a follower. I appreciate that a lot. I'd love to see Lumix grow more in Africa. It's Canon dominated over here. Oh, interesting. Elton, first off, what part of Africa are you from? That's really awesome. And then two, do you have Lumix? Have you kind of broken in, or is like the Lumix just not available? I'd be really interested to know more about how that works, but I appreciate you following along with the channel. That's really cool. Mark Man wants to know, what's my dream camera? So like, money's not an option. Dream camera? The one that they took to the moon, the Hasselblad, that one. They'll never let me have it. No, let's see. If you believe in the moon, could be fake. We don't know. Let's see, what is my dream camera? I think I would love to own either, no money. We're thinking photography or video, because I think if it was photography, I'd really love to mess with the X2D because again, I really like the Hasselblad for photography. I think that would be cool, more than probably Leica. Yeah, more than Leica, I think. And then if we're talking video, I don't know, Arri Mini LF. That'd be pretty cool, just to have one lying around to film YouTube videos on and maybe do some commercial work. I think that would probably be my dream cameras for photo video. If you want me to taper those a little bit, I'm happy to, but currently that's probably what I would say. Let's see here. Telford, you're asking, when Nikon releases their Z-mount cinema camera with red tech, with all the influence, drop Panasonic for that. Depends. It depends, because again, the thing that we're most drawn to with Lumix is it's just open gate and anamorphics for some of us specifically, but it's open gate, man. So if Nikon gives us open gate, yeah, dude, because Nikon's doing some cool stuff. I mean, I didn't like how the Z6 III performed for noise, but the Z5 II looks pretty freaking rad, and I love, which I don't have right next to me, but I love my Nikon ZF. I adore that camera. It's one of my favorite cameras. I'm working on, well, actually, I can show you in here. Hold on. Whoop. Boom. Look at this. This is what I'm working on right now. So, in fact, I still haven't properly de-squeezed this. Let me go ahead and do that before I forget again. Because I think I didn't de-squeeze it at all. I think this was shot with the A7C II with the Blazar autofocus lens. I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head, but I borrowed it from Cam. I think these are 133s. Yeah, that looks right. It looked so funny before. There we go. Yeah, so I do like what Nikon's doing overall. It's just, yeah, we got to see what they do. Again, I don't understand why we're not getting open gate. To me, that feels like such an obvious thing for companies to just compete, especially since the market seems to want it. Not just in the creative space, but I mean, like, let's face it, we're all, even I did a shoot with Snapdragon. Even they're content creators. We filmed on the Alexa Mini LF and we filmed an open gate because we needed to do a vertical crop in the video. So we needed to have more height on the top and bottom. So, Nikon, Canon, Sony, I don't know why they're dragging their heels on that. I had a whole conversation with Sony, which I won't get into, but I talked to one of their lead engineers and I was asking them about OpenGate, and without like throwing Sony too far under the bus, they basically said, if we're not doing it. They're like, we're not doing it. This is according to one guy, but he's like, we're not doing it. And if we do something, we'll do something better. Whatever that means. So that's my answer to that, Telford. Let's see, Edwin K, the skin tones and color depth really do look better on the S1R2. Makes me want to stick my hand in that fire just for that sauce. Dude, if you can put up with it, I think you can buy external fans maybe for it. But I'm right there with you. When I know that I'm not going to film in an environment where it's like risky, I film on the S1R2 because it just has that little extra something. And if you're a colorist in the comments, maybe you can tell me what that something is. But yeah, it's the depth. I don't know. It's like there's just more richness without saturation, if that makes any sense, which it probably doesn't. Motorcycle, yeah, of course, happy to provide my input. Elton, welcome back. I'd also want to know from your experience if you've encountered maxing out the shutter count. No. Are you saying, no, if this is photography related, I don't understand. I'm not a photographer. I can take photos, not a photographer. So if you're asking me specifically, are you shutter count, are you saying like you shot so many photos that the camera's like, we're done? Or are you saying like in burst mode, it buffers? Sorry, I am gonna need more information on that one. Let's see. Mark Mann says, sound like Brandon Washington with the fake moon stuff. That's actually what I was referencing. We had a conversation at Cine Gear about that, and that's a fun one. That's a great conversation. I don't care where you lean on that because it's just funny. Mark Mann is also saying, what Cine lenses would you recommend for someone starting off? Vintage. Not vintage Cine lenses, but just vintage lenses, and then put a ring on it and call it a day. Or you can rehouse them. That's more expensive. If you want anamorphic cines, I would recommend the Blazar Remus B set. I'm actually about to get the A set, which I know I just said you should get the B set, but I got a good, I'm trading some gear with a friend, and he had the A set, which I think is pretty fun. So I'm going to go ahead and snag those. And if you're talking new Cine lenses, I would probably say, I haven't used them really, so I want to preface that, but I think, is it 7 Artisans has their Infinite Cine lens series? That series looks pretty cool. I think it's 7 Artisans. Correct me on that if you guys know what I'm talking about. They're like the white lenses. Speaking of NASA and the moon, they look like NASA lenses, so they're pretty freaking cool. I'm answering more comments than I'm doing anything again, so we'll switch to that. Let's see, Cliff is back. I suspect that dual analog conversion gain sensor are the future for all new sensors now. Oh, okay, yeah, dual gain output sensors. Yeah, ARRI GH7, C70, and the S12 sensor have proven the tech. Yeah, and that I use the C70 a lot, and that sensor is special. What's interesting though is with the Canon C80, that's what cameras we're talking about, C70 and C80 from Canon, cinema cameras. The C80 went away from that. They went with a triple bass output system, which also is really sick. But I know a lot of people were mad about that as well. So dual gain output sensors are definitely interesting. I mean, the sensor tech that's in the S1 R2 is not dual gain output, but it's DRE, dynamic range expansion, and that works really great as well. But both of those, when you're in those boost modes or expansion modes, kind of kill the rolling shutter. So you're going to have to use those with some care, would be the way to put it. Markman, you got the Z6 III, but sometimes you wish you got the ZF because it's fun. And it is fun. It's a great camera. That's actually what this whole video that I'm not color grading right now like I should be is about, is basically we've lost the plot sometimes as camera people, and we forget why we enjoy this, all the camera stuff in the first place. And the ZF reminds me of that every day that I get to use it, and I'm really grateful to have it. So yeah, Z6 III is a workhorse. ZF is for your soul. So if you can afford that, I would recommend the Soul camera. Apex, thank you, Logan. I couldn't think of it. That's in relation to the Blazar autofocus lenses. So yeah, Logan's also saying the Nikon menus UI turned me off big time. I wish we could SL menus on better cameras. Yes, dude. And it's funny, my Nikon ZF video that I posted 9 months ago or whatever now, maybe longer. Yeah, someone was like, "Oh, I turned this video off as soon as he was saying bad stuff about Nikon menus. He's an idiot," or something like that. I'm paraphrasing, but I was like, "No, dude, they're just bad. They're just bad. They're like Sony menus were really bad for a long time. We all harped on Sony menus. They've since improved, so that's we're doing the same thing to Nikon, and we're hoping that Nikon and future cameras, maybe with the red whatever camera that they end up making." Maybe they can update the menus because, yeah, Nikon menus are confusing. They're so confusing. To be fair, LUMIX menus can be confusing as well. But I think that the reason why the LUMIX menus are confusing is because there's literally so many options in these cameras that it's not confusing. It's overwhelming. It's just like there's just too much going on with the LUMIX camera. So I recommend creating custom menus on any camera, but with the LUMIX cameras too, because I just want to, I don't need to have, 400 options for codecs and resolutions and frame rates. It's like, I know I use 4. I use 4 of them. basically. So you can customize it to only show you the 4 you want. Yeah. Logan says, better. Are they going to invent a new shapes? We'll see. Maybe they're going to do circles. That'd be cool. A circle sensor. Sony won't give us open gate, but they'll give us, I don't know. I have no idea what that meant. I really don't know what it meant. We talked for 45 minutes just about like all these things when I was there, and yeah, man, it's wild. It's wild stuff. I don't know. That whole conversation really put me off when it came to Sony and using Sony. I actually, after the conversation with the Sony guy, I went and sold my Sony a7R5 like a week later because I was just like, I don't know. I wasn't using it anyways, but it kind of like pushed me over the edge to sell that camera. So we'll see what Sony does. I have not been happy with the latest few releases personally. I know a lot of people like the RX1R3, but to me, it just felt like a big price tag. I kind of try to equate everything to like, okay, what's the price tag to feature set ratio? And if you exclude luxury cameras like Leica, which that just makes no sense to me, you know, like that's kind of how you can gauge anything. So it's like, why would you, other than the fact that it's itty bitty, so that's worth something. It's definitely worth something that the RX1R Mark II is worth something, and I got to try it out since my last live stream. It just doesn't, the tech to quality to price ratio is just wrong on that camera. It should have been 3,500 maybe at the most, I think, because it's like, you know, you get a lens, but it's a lot less camera than the a7R5, and that's, you know, I don't know, there should have been, what do you guys think it should have cost? Because that camera, I kind of derailed to talk about that camera, but not a big fan of that. Markman says Sony should do triangles. Yeah, maybe stars. You know, that'd be cool. Star-shaped sensor outputs, that could be pretty great. Telford, maybe Sony will implement closed gate instead of open gate. What would closed gate be? Just the sensor goes black and you can pretend like you're filming cool stuff. That'd be fun. All right, so maybe we should probably stop harping on Sony too much because Sony does make good stuff. I don't know, that conversation was weird. Logan, the S1R2 isn't a Sony sensor. Maybe that's part of the image. So I think it's still, I don't know this entirely, but I'm pretty sure it's still manufactured by Sony. So as far as I understand it, companies, let's just pretend Nikon, they build and concept a sensor, and then it goes to all the different manufacturers to actually produce it, and one of them is Sony in that process. So that's why people say like, they use Sony sensors, because they kind of do, but I think they're still designed by each, like there's like a mold. It's like, hey, this bucket of sensor, and then you can pick the bucket of sensor that you want, which is like, oh, we want it to do, you know, this many megapixels, full frame, whatever, right? And so Sony's like, hey, here's the bucket, and then from there you like specify things about it. So there's like variants of the same sensor that goes into all the different cameras, but they're made by Sony, if that makes any sense. So, yeah, if you like that description, you're welcome. Let's see, cut. Hi, I am late. No, you're just on time. There's no late to a live stream. Are we still talking about the video title, Why People Hate Lumix? Sure. Yeah, Cut, if you're still here, ask me something specific. We did talk about it, but I'm happy to rehash because I know people dip in and out of live streams all the time. So, brother, yeah, feel free to drop a comment on what we want to talk about specifically again in from your point of view and stuff like that. Elton's back. I've actually seen lots of love shown to the S1 II and the S1R2. Does the S1 IIe match up to it in terms of the look and sauce? Would you recommend it over the S5 IIX, and how's the overheating? So I do have that next to me because I like this camera a lot. There we go. Here we are. I'll show it to you guys. This is the Got to cover my face. S12E from Lumix. This camera rips, dude. It rips. I would say the look is very much comparable to the S1 II, I would say, in terms of look. I think I haven't done, to be fair, I haven't done a side-by-side like pixel peeping and, you know, and all that stuff. But I would say that I shoot with both of these cameras routinely, interchange them throughout videos, and I don't know that I would be able to be like, oh, that one for sure. That's the S1 IIe, obviously. I think it looks great. It does not compete with the S1R2, but neither does the S1 II when it comes to color depth. So that's going to be an is what it is. And then how does it compare to the S5 IIX? The body is much better than the S5 IIX. I do wish that they blacked it out. So on this, they went back to the white massive logo, just like every company. I wish they didn't do that, but they did. But the actual flip screen that is also, you know, we talk about this all the time. Welcome, class. The flip tilt screen that we got going on the body of the S1 IIe compared to the 2X, I feel like is a big upgrade. Again, the actual grip and like material, it feels more robust and stuff like that. But if that doesn't matter to you and you want to save some serious money, the S5 IIX is pretty sweet still. Pretty sweet. And you don't get the raw internal. This does do raw internal, but it's ProRes RAW, so again, you know, DaVinci Resolve users, I'm sorry, that's me too. But yeah, if you don't mind with those things, save some money, get the S5 IIX, it's a great camera. And I love the blacked out design, I really do. Cut is back. I personally think the S1 IIe is not for users who already have the S5 II, but for people who are trying to divide between the two. Haven't heard of overheating. I have not had this camera, and I have not had the S1 II overheat at all. No warnings, no nothing. So those cameras have been really solid for me. I've only had issues on the S1R2 when it comes to overheating, so that's why I don't recommend that camera directly anymore, unless you're doing something specific, even though I like it. Yeah, I think you're right. If you already own the 2X, there's really, unless you want the RAW, there's no reason to get this unless you just like got money to burn. So I totally agree with you on that. I think this camera was for people who wanted to get an S5 IIX and didn't for whatever reason. And then later down the line, this is basically just an updated version. So it's almost like, oh, I didn't buy the iPhone 15 because I couldn't, and then the iPhone 16 came out and I got that one instead, basically is what this is. So it's just an updated version of an older camera, same sensor, and all that stuff. Mark, man, I only said Canon menus is confusing because I wasn't used to it. Yeah, so every menu system is confusing if you don't use it. I use nature of the job. I use every camera menu, so that's the perspective I come from. But I remember even like Blackmagic, like, which is considered the easiest menu. The first time I picked up a Blackmagic, I'm like, wait, where's this? How do you use this? You know, stuff like that. So every menu system is going to be confusing at first. You're going to have to learn what things are. I'm still learning occasionally where things are in my Lumix because I'll need something specific. But yeah, also, just a note, this battery is holding up freaking great on the S1 II. I wasn't sure how long just one battery, maybe it charges over Type-C when you're doing the webcam. So we're doing the USB-C webcam thing with the S1 II. So we're trying this out for the first time as well. Also, there's Mackie in the background doing things. So you can make fun of him in the comments as well. That'd be awesome. Deserved, Cam. Cut. I personally don't see how Lumix menus are confusing. You have a tab for photos, a tab for video. Each tab have image, AF, audio, and others. Seems pretty simple. Yeah, it's simple. It's just like sometimes, especially when you're first setting up the camera, in my opinion, there's like certain things that are turned on. Like if you want to switch out of shutter speed to shutter angle, like I remember figuring that out for the first time was annoying. Then there's also the constant preview stuff, which is really obnoxious, that Lumix kind of defaults to like this weird, acts as a DSLR, but it's a mirrorless camera. Like that's really obnoxious. And then other things about Lumix that are goofy with menus is like, and this is fixable, I guess. But like if you're filming with anamorphics and you switch it into a 1.5x squeeze, and you have stabilization turned on, you would think that it would auto toggle on that, but it doesn't. So like there's just some goofiness, but every camera system's mostly good. I do think Nikon's though, it just is rough. Elton says, you're from Ghana. Oh, sick. That's awesome. I've not seen anyone shoot Lumix, honestly. Rentals are 80% Canon, 20% Sony. Was aiming for the R6 II, but I love the value you made me see from the S5 IIX over it, especially Vlog and C-Log 3. Yeah, so the R6 II I owned, and the problem with Canon with the R6 Mark II, unless they've updated it since I gotten rid of it, but last time I heard you could still only film in Canon Log 3. And Canon Log 3 was just never my favorite. And I know in the latest R5 Mark IIs, you got it updated so you could film in Canon Log 2. But yeah, to me, Canon's just kind of been not playing the game. Or they weren't when I got rid of them. I think they're doing a lot better now, but the problem is I'm not going to go back to Canon because of their RF mount issues, and then I'm not going to go back to Canon because, one, they kind of upset me, if I'm being honest, and then they're not giving us the video features that Lumix are with the open gate stuff. So yeah, but that's my thing with that. Ada says, I love Lumix. Me too. I like them a lot. Yeah, they're great. I use them all the time, every day, using them right now. Brad saying, bingo. I think it's not so much that people switch systems often. It's more like when a system begins to stagnate for too long, that incentive devices switching to systems that is innovating. Yeah, exactly. It's like I switched to Sony briefly because Canon was stagnating and I didn't really know what was going on with Lumix yet. And so I went to the A7R5 from Canon and I did like it a lot. And it was cool. I like that camera, great body design, got the flip tilt screen, pretty good video specs, pretty, like so-so rolling shutter, but that didn't really bother me. So I like that camera because Sony was innovating more, but I kind of jumped on the Sony wagon right as they were stagnating. And then that's when I got introduced to Lumix and I actually got to try them out. And trying out things is the best way to decide if you like them. So I always tell people, like, if you have the opportunity to rent or you know someone who owns a camera that you're interested in messing with and maybe buying, just try it first. Because that's what I did with Lumix. I tried it. And then that's when I realized, oh, this is dope. Like, I understand why these features are really useful. And then that's why I switched over into Lumix, because they've been innovating the most. So we'll see who the next one is. Maybe the next one will be Nikon. Cut is saying, hey Connor, I always wanted to know why some camera companies have different log profiles, S-Log3, C-Log3. What could be the reason for that? Because Lumix only has V-Log. Oh, I see what you're asking. I think it's probably just because, if we're being honest, companies wanted to, I can't speak for Sony specifically, but I'm going to talk Canon. Canon is protecting, in my opinion, their higher end cameras. So that's why they would have different log profiles, because they look slightly different and they perform slightly differently. But that's a way that they can make you want to buy the next tier of camera, because the original R5, for example, could not do C-Log 2, could only do C-Log 3. So it's like, well, maybe I should buy a C70 because then I can film in C-Log 2 and whatever else. It could be that. It could just be optimization for the sensor. So every sensor maybe, needs that, and maybe Lumix has decided to just kind of optimize everything for one log, but I'm totally speculating. I have no idea. But that would be my guess, is that companies like Canon and Sony want you to buy the next tier of camera, and Lumix doesn't have a cinema line. I guess they used to, but they don't now. So there's nothing to protect. So you might as well just get the best one they got, which is the only one they got. Although now you can do Aerilog. So I don't know if I'm answering that question well, but that would be my guess. Yeah, that would be my guess to your question there. Love is a Battlefield. It says, I wish the screens were bigger on these cameras. so I wouldn't need external monitors. Totally agree. I'm a big proponent of nothing on my camera. I don't want anything except the lens and the camera and a battery. But unfortunately, sometimes you need other things. You need transmitters, monitors, things like that. But yeah, I do wish that, like, I don't know how they would necessarily make it bigger without making the camera ridiculously large, but if they could figure it out, I agree. Bigger screens would be great on all systems. Markman is saying, I can't stand Nikon's hidden menus. Oh gosh, yeah, so I messed this up all the time. And, oh, did I lose the live? I might have lost the live. No, I didn't lose the live. My phone just switched off the live stream for some reason. Sorry. Yes, hidden menus. So I messed this up in one of my videos. I mean, I ended up going back and refilming it is what I mean. But I switched it into whatever mode. I don't remember what I switched it into, but I didn't realize that you have to go into an extra sub menu to select N-log for every single thing that you want to select, which is really obnoxious. Yes, that's the hidden menu that he's talking about. If you used a Nikon camera for video, you probably know what we're talking about here. But yeah, there's like lots of little things like that with Nikon that are a little annoying. Edwin is saying, for the record, Connor convinced me to buy the S1R2 over the S1 II. I hope you like it if that's your real plan. You're saying JK, so maybe not. But yeah, I don't try. It's tough because I'm trying to give advice based on my experience, but I never want someone to feel like they should just buy what I say they should buy. I'm just trying to provide you with information that then you can hopefully take to make your own decision based on what you're doing, because we all do different things. And that's why I always encourage people to leave comments, because you just never know what people are filming. So like different cameras are good for different things. For example, my really good friend, Malachi, he lives in Germany, and he saw my videos on all the LUMIX stuff, and you know, I use it how I use it, and he does live events. And so one thing, if you guys don't know, is that LUMIX has a funny delay. I say funny, it's not good, it's a bad delay when you go HDMI out. So if you're doing live events where a delay would make a difference, you shouldn't use these cameras for, these are not, like, you shouldn't be using HDMI cameras for live events. Anyways, in my opinion, you should be using like the Canon C80 or whatever Sony has, or whatever, I don't know, just cameras that are made for live events. But yeah, unfortunately he bought that and he was like, oh, this camera sucks. And I was like, well, it doesn't suck, it's just not good for live events. So yeah, we had a conversation, and then, you know, he still wanted to use a camera of a similar thing, so I ended up advising that he gets the FX3, which he ended up doing. And he still wants to jump to LUMIX every once in a while, but that's the better camera in the situation, in my opinion. Let's see here. VLC. Ask Cam if he has any predictions for SummerSlam. What the heck's SummerSlam? Let's see. Hey Cam. He has really good noise canceling headphones on, so I don't think he's gonna say. I don't think I can get him. But what is SummerSlam? Is that basketball? I don't know. Let's see. Oh, SummerSlam is wrestling. Got it. Is Cam into wrestling? I don't even know that. But people are saying John Cena will win, so that's what's tuning me in. If you guys are still hanging out here today, I appreciate it. Maybe drop a like. I would appreciate it. We got to offset that one dislike. Who's that guy? Who's not having a good time? We're all just hanging out. If the comments are slowing down, that's fine. No problem. I can go back to color grading like I was planning on. We've already gone an hour. That's pretty awesome. I'll prompt with a new question if we've kind of exhausted the LUMIX one, which is fine. I've talked too much about these darn LUMIX cameras. As much as I like them, you know, you get tired of talking about the same thing. I would ask you guys, are you all into film photography at all? Because that is something that I have been enjoying quite a lot lately. And if you are in the film world, what's like your go-to film camera or film type of camera? So like point shoot, SLR kind of a thing. And then what's your go-to film stock? Because I'm kind of like hesitant with film. I kind of like learned that I liked two things basically, and have just stuck with it. So if you guys have any recommendations for film, would love to know more about that. I have a really good film lab that I send my stuff to in Nashville called Film Lab Boutique. I love what they do with my film. So yeah, if you guys have any recommendations on that, that would be cool. And then what else did I want to talk to you guys about? I think we kind of covered a lot of it, but I'm here just to hang out. Like I said, I do need to color grade, so feel free to hang out, put on some music, whatever. We can talk about anything. It's ask me anything. It doesn't even have to be camera related. You can ask me about freaking cars. I don't care. We can talk about anything. Or we can talk more LUMIX if you guys really want to. That's fine. But that's kind of what we got. Also, I did have on a note here that I wanted to talk maybe a little bit about the dreaded AI and how AI has been infiltrating everything, and how we think some things are good, how we think some things are bad, and how some things are maybe awful. And like, where's the line with AI? Like, where is it? Where do we say no more in the creative world? I'm not even talking outside of the creative world, but specifically in the creative world. Like, where does AI end? Because I use it in some things, you know, but then for other things, I have my own line in the sand on where I think AI should just not be around anymore. So I'm curious where everyone feels, because that's going to be a huge topic of conversation for the next forever, I guess. AI's here. This is like the internet being here for the first time. Let's see. Mark Man. Dude, I appreciate you being so active in the comments. That's really awesome. Not into film yet, but I have my dad's Minolta. I should go out and practice. Yeah, dude. That's cool. I have my grandfather's Canon. He had a Canon AE1, and he gave it to me before he passed away, and so I will probably have that camera forever. You know, that's a really cool thing to have something from your family, no matter what kind of thing it is, right? It's good to keep on holding on to those things. So, yeah, it's cool. My one of my friends, he got a film camera for the first time. And when I was visiting, we went out and he got to mess around with it and toy with it. And he's been having a lot of fun. You'll be surprised, though, at least for me, it's hard to shoot a whole roll of film for me, because it feels like every shot matters more when you're shooting film. So if you end up shooting film, let me know in a future video. Just drop a comment, and it'd be cool to hear how it went. And, you know, if your photos turned out or don't turn out, you know, it's a chemical miracle. You know, digital is like a technological marvel, and then film is a miracle. I think that film photos make less sense than digital photos and tech. I feel the exact same way about a record. We got that sweet record player back there. It's Cam Mackey's record player. And we were talking the other day just about like how that doesn't make any, like, it does make sense. Obviously I understand how it works, you know, but it doesn't make sense. Like, it's just needled on some plastic, and we're like, yeah, sure, that produces friggin' Bohemian Rhapsody. That makes sense, sure. Let's see what else is going on. You guys are back to the comments. I appreciate that a lot. Let's see. Malik is saying, I shoot 35 millimeter. I'd love to get into medium format, though. Yeah. I've looked at some medium format film cameras, and I haven't pulled the trigger yet, because it's expensive. The camera body itself isn't too bad, but it's the film and the failure that I likely will have shooting with it the first time, and then processing all the film, and then if I like it, it'll be future expensive. So, but that's cool. Malik, what medium format camera are you eyeballing for film? That's interesting. Yeah, let's see. And also, what 35 millimeter camera are you shooting on? Actually, here's a great question. What 35 millimeter film camera, if you could have it delivered to your house tomorrow for free, which one would you want? For me, I think I would want it to be the Canon F3 HP, which isn't even a crazy camera. I mean, they're not cheap if you want one in really nice condition, but I don't know, there's something about the way that camera looks. My buddy had it and I held it and I was like, ooh, that's nice. I just haven't took the time to research and get one for myself. Elton's back. He's saying, is there a massive difference in file size between 6K and 4K? And is the OpenGate only accessible in 6K? No, so they actually have an OpenGate Lite 4K. It's like it's a 4K OpenGate Lite mode. So you can, I don't film that because, you know, for the nature of what I do, talking about cameras in the filmmaking space, you kind of want your stuff to be the highest quality it can be because people are going to critique you extra harshly. So I never use it, but I know a lot of people who love that. So you can do that. And then is there a difference in file size between 4K and 6K? I find them to be pretty similar because 6K OpenGate is 420, which is less information than the 4K that I would shoot in, which is 422 10-bit, which is a little bit bigger. So like, I think it kind of almost evens out. I haven't noticed a difference really switching to it. But if you start filming in ProRes HQ 4K or 6K, that'll make a difference. That's where the difference is. Edwin is here saying, I used to shoot a lot with the Veronica SQAI 6x6 medium format, the poor man's Hasselblad. Well, it sounds expensive. I don't even know what that looks like, but that sounds cool. I guess it's poor man's Hasselblad because Hasselblad's just expensive, let's face it. But that actually sounds pretty awesome. What is something, Edwin, that you've messed with medium format that has either made it easier or like a good guide to kind of dip your toes in? Or did you just learn naturally, or did you learn from someone? Because yeah, medium format film photography is something I'm really interested in, and probably a lot of people in the comments. I say a lot of people, all 20 of us, which is cool. 20 people on a random Sunday tuning in, that's pretty awesome. Let's see here. Mark Man says, same, my dad passed away when I was 16. I'm sorry, man. So I don't see myself getting rid of that camera. Yeah, it's like, it means more than the parts at a certain point. So yeah, those are cool pieces to just cherish and have forever and pass down maybe even one day. And the cool thing about film and these older cameras is, I mean, there's some electronic components in them, but they're less likely to have issues long term. So especially if you get like an old Leica, which they're obviously really expensive, but they're just mechanical tanks, and they'll last 150 more years. It's crazy. Motor Psycho, AI will destroy humanity. Likely. We've made a lot of movies about that, so I don't disagree with you. Motorcycle also saying, what's your favorite film to use? I love Rollei Retro 400. So honestly, it's the sad truth. I love Portra 800. I use it all the time. Or CineStill 800T, actually, I like that one too. And then for black and white, I was using Kodak Tri-X 400, I think was the one I was using, or HP5 as well for black and white. But yeah, I don't know. I like Portra. I'm a normie. I like it a lot, but maybe I should try out this Retro 400 film because that sounds cool. If it's called Retro 400, I'm assuming it's a modern film made to look old, if I'm not mistaken. That would make sense to me. So you have to let me know about that. What makes that one special to you? Is it like the tones and the colors? What is it? Telford says, I think you meant Nikon F3 HP. Yeah, I did. So that's something I do all the time in my YouTube videos. I mix up names so much. It's hard to keep track of everything when you're trying to do it off memory. I try not to use a teleprompter ever. Sometimes I'll do outlines to help me kind of remember things, but yeah, my bad. I did mean Nikon F3 HP. But thank you for the correction. Ipo's back. He says, I've played a bit with AI, and the best use was to make a photo that I've always joked about but never could take. A lynx riding a moose. Yeah. I like AI for silly things like that as well. It's fun. I think how I use it, but it'd be interesting to know what you think about it in like a more professional setting. So for example, how I use it today is I'll take a picture for a thumbnail. My last picture that I used on my thumbnail, so if you guys want to go look at, you don't have to watch the video, but you just go look at it. You know, it's me holding the cameras and making a dumb face, and then Joshua trees in the background, right? And the picture is good. It's almost all 100% real, but it was like the top of the mountain was like here on my head, and then like it was cut off. There was like very little sky. There was only skies on the left and right of it, and so I zoomed it. I cut myself out. I zoomed it out, and then put a sky above it because then the text would come off the back a lot better, and I use generative fill to do that. So that's how I use AI now, right? So, you know, I would say that that's okay, right? But some people would say that that's not okay. So it's like, at what point is it not okay? I do think, like, I talked to a buddy of mine who edits thumbnails for, you know, high-end YouTube clients, like the top of the top when it comes to YouTube, and they say that like 90% of the thumbnails are fake. They're all AI, which obviously, obviously, if you look at them, you're like, that's AI, but it works. It gets clicks. I try not to do that. I try to use 100% real photo. Mine tend to be 90-10, I would say. 90% real, 10% of it is generative fill to clean it up. I'll like make something disappear that's distracting. That's how I use it, but yeah, it's going to be interesting, the ethics of AI in the creative space. I think as soon as you're replacing people is when it becomes a problem. I think that that's probably where I would stand. If it's like a tool to make something faster for yourself, like, I don't know, maybe if there's like an AI color correction, so it didn't grade it, but it just was like, corrected, boom, corrected, using AI, that'd be fine. Make that faster, because color grading to me is grueling, and I do it for myself, so. I don't know what you guys think about that. Definitely, it's not an easy topic. So I'm probably losing people talking about it, actually. Malik says, I have 6 35mm cameras. Oh, geez. Probably a Leica just to see what all the hype is about. Yeah, I think if I ever get a Leica, it'll be film. It'll definitely be film, actually. Well, okay. Actually, here, hold on. I lied. Let me walk over here real quick. So now you can get a better view of Cam, because the autofocus probably went to the background. I did buy a Leica. I kind of forget this camera's a Leica because it's not one of the main ones that everyone is like, ooh, that's a Leica. That's the one. Those are the expensive ones. And I got this one. Look at that. There's a Leica badge on it. I made a video about it. Didn't do very well, but this camera's sick. Here, let's see if those batteries good. Yep. Little point and shoot Leica camera, mini lux. This thing is dope. Really love this. I took it with me to Italy on a work trip. Had a great time with it. So yeah, I say if I ever buy a Leica, I'd buy a film one. Well, it's true, because I did. And these are expensive, but they're not near as expensive as the other ones that everyone goes crazy for. So yeah, that would be my thoughts on that as well. Malik, Markman's back. There are parts of me that hate these AI weird commercials, but I could sound like a hypocrite because I love CGI and 3D rendered cartoons. Yeah, I think the difference obviously with those is so you're saying because it's fake, therefore you're saying you're being a hypocrite if you don't like the AI commercials. I would say not, though, because if the commercial is like the Coca-Cola commercial during Christmas where it was all AI, there was obviously a lot of people who put work into that. But like, I think as soon as you lose human input, and like real human input, like what I mean by that is if you have a person who has tools to make a CGI or a 3D image in Blender, they have tools to do that, but they're deciding, I'm gonna sculpt this way, I'm gonna sculpt this that way, I'm gonna animate it this way, I'm gonna make them fall that way. That's when it's that's what I mean by human input. It's like humans are like actively deciding this is how it's going to look and this is how it's going to move and this is how it's going to sound. When you remove that and you have it where it's more like, I want, you say like, I want a human jumping on a trampoline, right? Whatever. But you didn't, in that, you're not making the conscious decision of what the actual output is going to be other than conceptually, right? So at that point, you're a producer, you're not the artist. You asked for something and then the AI artist produced it. So like you remove the human art out of that. So that's how I would say the difference is. So if that made any sense, I don't know. Elton, I just wish the S12E did full frame 4K 60. The R6 II does it. Some people use the FX3 just for 4K 120. I don't know how sharp the 1080 120 would be on the S12E. So yeah, I don't use slow motion ever anymore, really. Well, not ever. I did with the S1 II, I'll shoot 48 frames a second sometimes. But I haven't messed around with any of the 120 stuff on the S12E. But if you if 4K 60 is a big deal for you and you use it all the time for your work, which is completely valid, yeah, I don't know about the S12E then, because it does crop in, I'm pretty sure, just like that. So you'd have to then go with the S12, which is more money, if you wanted to go Lumix. Or you can go in another system that doesn't have that issue. So yeah, that would be what I'd have to say about that. It makes sense CGI and rendered cartoons have actual human input, design, and then the output. Yeah, that's essentially what I was referencing. I think because like I had a huge argument when AI was young AI, or still young AI, but when it was in its infancy, and my friend and I were having a argument, but like a friendly one, about are you the artist if you use AI to make something? And my argument was no, you're not, and his argument you were. And he was giving me examples of people who did like some pretty intricate AI outputs, right? So like they were doing these pretty intense prompts to get some interesting AI imagery. And I was like, okay, that's cool. Like it is cool. Like, when you see the output, you're like, oh, that's cool. But like, I was like, well, you're still not an artist in that instance. You're an engineer, like a prompt engineer or a producer, like I said, you're the person with the vision, but you didn't actually make it. I think that's when it gets confusing, because I'm like, well, you gave a detailed description, but you still didn't decide exactly how it was. You didn't make the choice. AI still made the choice following your guidelines, basically. So that's maybe where that would go in my view. So, well, there's we've been going an hour and 20 minutes, so I could probably wrap this up because I didn't actually color grade anything, like my plan was. But I'm happy to answer a few. Maybe we can go another 10 minutes if you guys have any last second things. But if none of you guys drop any more, we had a lot of good conversations in this. But if none of you guys have any more things that you want to talk about, that's fine. But we'll kind of hang around just for a little bit longer and see if there's anything else that you guys want to do. I don't know if there's anything else I want to prompt you guys with necessarily, because I don't know if I want to get into huge new conversations. Maybe we could just tie up any loose ends we have when it comes to Lumix, AI, film photography, Nikon Z5 II. Actually, I will say one thing. I'll prompt this for those of you who are here an hour and 20 minutes into the stream. What kind of things are you guys wanting to see on the channel? Because sometimes I get bogged down with things because like I get sponsored, which is cool because that's how I'm able to do this. So I have obligations to those that I want to fulfill and do well. But then I also need to constantly be making, and the constantly part's the hard part, interesting things that you guys actually want to see, right? And that would be helpful, because at the end of the day, that's the whole point. So if you guys have any advice on things like, oh, I really want to see specific types of content when it comes to the camera space, feel free to drop anything down below. Telford is asking, when does the Nikon ZF video come out? Well, it was supposed to come out in July, and it didn't, obviously. That's my fault. I got busy with some other things, but hopefully today's Sunday. It is a sponsor, you know, Nikon didn't sponsor it, but it does have a sponsor on the video, and so I need to get that, make sure that I didn't say anything. Basically, when I do it, just for clarity, might as well talk about it. When I do a sponsored video, I have, you know, as long as I don't get anything wrong, which is what the brands are looking at, they're like, hey, you didn't say the name correctly. I mess up the names of things all the time, or you got a spec wrong on something or whatever, right? So as long as but you have to still send it into the brand to make sure that you didn't say anything wrong. So once the video is fully colored, and I still have a few more things I want to do with sound design. This video is going to be very different, by the way, so I would appreciate it if you all liked, commented, and shared it, because it's going to be very different. But I have to send it to the brand, and then they will look at it, make sure I didn't say anything wrong. And if they say it's all good, then it'll probably be up by like Wednesday. But if I mess something up, I'll have to do a reshoot or some audio stuff, do a re-export, resend it to them, wait for them to reply, so it could take another week. So hopefully soon is my answer. That's kind of the behind the scenes of making YouTube content today. Is unfortunately, it's hard to keep a schedule because you're kind of at the mercy of whoever's sponsoring you at the time, because, you know, there's a, you know, they have to approve things when it comes to making sure you say things correctly. So that would be that. Mark Mann is saying, I wish there was more tutorials like framing composition, or maybe showing why OpenGate is important. I probably should make a video just about OpenGate at this point. Yeah, tutorials are tough. So I've made some tutorials and no one watches them. I had an old channel before I had this channel, and so no one watched them. I don't know if that would be different now because I have this channel. And yeah, but then I've also done specific tutorials. So I remember I did like a breakdown of some camera basics, but I wrapped it in the packaging of, this is a video about how to use the Canon R50, right? So it was like the Canon R50 camera basics, and that one did great. It actually did amazing. One of my better videos. So yeah, tutorials are interesting because you have to kind of, like, this is the weird thing with YouTube. You can't just make, you can, but they don't always do well. You can't just like be like, camera basics and how to get started, you know, like that works for some people, but it doesn't work for most people. You kind of have to be clever with how you package the thing. So it's like, I can't believe I didn't know this before I got started. Like, you know, you have to be like, it's dumb, but like you really have to think in that mindset, because it's like the Mr. Beastification of YouTube, where you have to kind of like, you do your best to be honest, but you have to sensationalize it just enough. Like even the title of this, it was not the title I was going to go with. What did I call this thing? Let me go back to my, this ridiculous, why people hate Lumix, replying to the drama, right? It's a ridiculous title. But like, in order to get people to click on things and to watch things, you kind of have to do things like that, unfortunately. Because if I just said, hey, talking about cameras, you know, maybe you guys wouldn't have shown up. Maybe you would have. Maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, that's my answer to that. I think tutorials are great though, and I probably should figure out how to do them in a way that people will click on them and actually watch them. Ipo is saying, I want to see the video of your favorite lens we were talking about. Yeah, I probably do. That video I could definitely make, and I should make soon. I'll have to figure out where that's going to live in my schedule. But I'm actually working on a pretty crazy video. It has to do with Spider-Man, but cameras. And I'll tease that to just you few who are here left listening in on this. So yeah, kind of tease that one for you guys. Couple more minutes, just kind of hanging out here just to make sure you guys don't have any last second things. I'm happy to provide any advice that I can. Or if you guys have nothing else, that's fine too. It's been my voice is going. I've talked more than I talk in any normal day. I'm a hermit in my spare time. I like to keep to myself and make YouTube videos. That's how I got into this job, obviously. So, but I really do appreciate all you guys who were having the conversations, keeping the comments flowing. We had 77 comments, jeez, just on this one live stream. So that's pretty awesome. And for the people who liked and the guy who disliked, you know, I appreciate you too. Yeah, it's really cool to do live streams. This is something that I did back when I worked with another channel. We would do live streams weekly, and it's a muscle I haven't used in a long time because I don't do live streams really anymore. But I hope you guys enjoyed the conversation and the randomness. Like I said, I did have something I really wanted to talk about, but I didn't want to make a whole video. So that's kind of what this is for. I appreciate whoever just dropped the like. That's cool. I appreciate it. I get to see that. I'm also, again, testing out Ecamm. So did you guys like this? Like if I click on this button up here, I can go, and now we're in DaVinci. That's pretty cool. I was using OBS back in the day, and that sucked. So if this was cool, I'm doing the trial. So if you guys like it, I might end up buying it if I'm gonna keep doing live streams, because that would be pretty cool. So cool. Yeah, I see people are kind of funneling out, so I think I'll probably end it here. But again, thank you all for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one. Take it easy, guys.